Hi there, Niru here from Nirus Calligraphy. In this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to make a rose using only a brush pen. It's going to be a very easy technique, but before we get to the process, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to Nirus Calligraphy, helping you creatives learn calligraphy, and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss out on the next tutorial when it comes out. Let's get into the process. For this tutorial, you'll need a paper. I'm taking an A6 sized flashcard. A flashcard can be found at any stationery store. You could use any paper that you have. Next, you'll need a brush pen. I'm taking a Camlin brush pen, but you can use any brand. Make sure that the color suits a rose. To make a rose using a brush pen, you'll need to practice one basic stroke really well. So this basic stroke has a thin start, thick middle region, and again a thin ending stroke. So this is almost like an inverted C. Once again, thin, start pressing as you curve, and then lift to make it thin. This also looks like a moon, so we're going to call it the moon stroke. Now remember, when you're doing it on a rose, it doesn't have to be this perfect. Start it thin, make some wiggles if you want, and then end it thin again, just to keep it natural. So the more you practice this stroke, the better your rose will get. Now let's start with the rose. First, you need to make the center of the rose. Make a small patch and then make another dot next to it. Now, this is the center of the rose. We need to make petals, and this is where our basic stroke is used. Rotate the paper a bit. Now, overlapping the first patch, make the moon stroke. A small one. Again, turn it. Every time you turn it, make sure that the brush pen is perpendicular to the point that you start. Now again rotate. Don't start from the end of this petal. Start it overlapping it, thin, thick, and then thin. Now if you notice, the first petal is small, the second is bigger than the first one, and the third one is bigger than the second one. So it has to increase as you go. Now again, the next petal, I'm rotating the paper, keeping my brush pen perpendicular, overlapping the previous petal, thin, thick, and thin. Again, this is bigger than the previous one. Once again, turn, thin, thick. I'll add some wiggle here, and then thin. Once more, overlapping it, thin, thick, and then thin. I'll make one last petal, thin, thick, and thin. So this is how you make the rose. Now there is one more technique that you can do. This is called a loose floral. Now for this part of the tutorial, you'll need a watercolor paper. You'll need a water-based brush pen. Now Camlin is also a water-based brush pen, but the Karin markers blend a little better than the Camlin. So I'm going to use a Karin marker right now. I'm taking the red again. To make these loose florals, you'll also need something to apply water with. I'm taking a water brush pen. You can use any round brush that you have if you don't have a water brush pen. I'm going to use the same procedure, but with a little difference. So I'm going to have my rose over here. So first, a center line, a dot. Now, rotating my paper, keeping it perpendicular, a little petal, rotate it again. Now on the third petal, I'm going to start applying a little water. So using your water brush pen or your normal brush with some water in it, just apply some water and spread the color a bit. I'll add a little water over here to give that watercolor effect. So just a little bit water, don't spread it out too much. Just a little water to give the watercolor effect. Keep your water brush next to you For every petal, you're going to add some water. So rotate it, start your petal. Take your water brush, apply some water, spread it nicely. Again, rotate it. Keeping the petal bigger as we go. Now remember, if you don't have a watercolor paper, your brush pens won't blend with water. So make sure you have the right equipment for this. Now the next petal again. Spreading it with water. I'm going to have a few more petals just to finish them up. Making them big. And then I'm going to have my last petal. So now our rose is complete. All through this process, make sure it starts thin, goes thick, and then thin. The moon stroke that we talked about. So this is the process for a rose. The more you practice, the better your rose will become. So don't worry if you don't get a beautiful looking rose in the first attempt. It'll get better as you go. Practice the basic stroke really well. Now since we have a rose here, I'm going to write the word rose over here. So I'm going to keep it all small. So I'm going to do brush calligraphy right now. Basically having all my upstrokes thin and downstrokes thick. I'll put a link to my brush calligraphy tutorial in the description below. So be sure to check it out if you're not aware of the technique. Thin upstroke, small r, and O. Continue to an S. And finally, an E. And my rose is complete. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you liked the video, hit the like button and let me know if you'd like to see more such techniques using brush pen. And don't forget to subscribe to Nirus Calligraphy, making the world a better place, one word at a time. And hit the bell icon.